So we've been discussing cyberbullying in class, and one overarching theme that I've noticed is the question of why are people so mean on the internet, and why is it so easy for people to be mean on the internet? Now, of course, anonymity is an obvious reason, because if you can't see the person you're targeting, then you can't see how they're affected. Um, Open source sites that allow you to just post your feelings, which of course you can do, and you have a right to do, um, tend to set other people off that don't agree, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media sites where you have the freedom to say whatever you want about whatever you want. And the cases that we've discussed, such as Justine Sacco, who unknowingly posted tweets that were taken in a very unintentionally racist way. She was traveling to South Africa, where she is from, and decided that it would be funny and ironic to tweet something along the lines of an AIDS joke. And that's not okay. And she knows that it's not okay. And people took to Twitter and absolutely destroyed her, which sucks. That's not fair. And when she got off of her flight, she opened her phone and realized what she had done and the implications of what she had done, and it absolutely turned her life around. She lost her job, she couldn't leave her home, and it just goes to show that if you're careless with what you say, people will take it whatever way they choose to, because they can too. Just like you can say whatever you want on the internet, someone else can respond any way that they want, and that's not fair. So the person that originally outed her tweet, a reporter named Sam Biddle, was at first seen as a hero for showing people that this woman has no right to say these things, which if she had meant them, then no, she didn't have a right to say them. And obviously jokes are offensive, and you can never tell the circumstances of somebody's situation in that moment, so nobody really knows what she was thinking when she did tweet. But later, when she apologized and explained, and people saw how affected she was, they turned around on Sam Biddle, and he said that he originally wanted people to see that he was the one to first out her because he wanted more traffic on his own blog, and that in itself isn't okay. And he then issued a public apology to Justine because then he realized how it felt to be so shamed in the way that she was. And of course, her life will never be the same. And even though she's trying to slowly rebuild a career for herself, it's never going to be as successful as she would have liked it to be, because now she's this like hot button conversation starter. Like if you see her name, you don't want it associated with anything negative, just as she once was. And now she's smarter, and she's learned that when doing interviews, she refuses to talk about herself anymore. She knows that if her name is in the media, it's going to be negative just because of one event. And that's not fair. But the internet is a very powerful tool, and it can either help or destroy a situation, and too many times it destroys. Cyberbullying is very real. Anybody can be affected because everybody is connected. And that's a scary thought. We shouldn't have to fear that something that we say will be taken so out of context, because freedom of speech is a thing. Freedom of speech exists. And it exists so that our thoughts and feelings on controversial topics are protected. Obviously, you're not going to agree with every person you meet, and there are some topics that you just don't talk about with people because you know you don't agree, and that's fine too. So it's better to disagree. It's better to agree to disagree, or just to not talk about it, than to cause insanely huge problems or potentially ruin someone's life. After Justine's incident occurred, she was depressed. She couldn't leave her home. She felt sincerely hated by every person on the planet, and that's what gets me, that she felt so victimized by every person on the planet. How often is that going to happen to you? How often do you feel like every single person in the world hates you. That's what cyberbullying can do. That's the effect it can have on people. And maybe it doesn't have such a huge effect on everyone like that, but at some point, you're going to experience some sort of harassment online. And if that's just in high school or college, you're at least on a smaller scale. But in Justine's case, in the workforce, in the professional world, it was worldwide. And that's the scary thing about the internet. You don't know who's going to see it or what they're going to do with it. You don't know how they're going to take it. So while freedom of speech exists, being careful with your words is important because it's better to be safe than sorry. It's just, there are no rules on the internet, sadly.